I'm Jeff Biggs, host of the Cowboys Squad Show, and forget the bandwagon. I am jumping on the Chuck wagon. I'm picking the Cowboys to win on Sunday.
I'm Marcus Mosher, and it was really nice to see a competent defense for once.
Yeah, I'm Landon McCool, and I'm glad just to be talking about the defense with a smile on my face at the same time.
Glenn Stretch Smith, any way to get to 500?
How about them Cowboys? It's the Cowboys Squad. Everything Dallas Cowboys every week. Covering all the big hits and game-changing plays from America's team the way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. Get ready and squad up. It's the Cowboys Squad Show, starting now.
Squad up and what's up? So the Cowboys are coming off a very big Monday night win in Vegas, and they're getting set for another big game coming up at home when they host the Eagles, the rematch on Sunday. Welcome to another edition of the Cowboys Squad Show. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. It's that easy. As always, we start with a welcome to the co-hosts of the daily Locked On Cowboys podcast, Marcus Mosher and Landon McCool, along with former Cowboys coach, the one and only Glenn Stretch Smith. Coming up on our show today, we're going to get you the very latest on what's going on with the Cowboys heading into Week 12. We will get you ready for round 2 with the Eagles and a whole lot more. But guys, Marcus, Landon, going to start with you too. The Cowboys wanted to honor Marshawn Kneeland on the field on Monday night. I think they did that. I think they'll do it again this Sunday, but love the energy, love the defense, as you two pointed out, and really great play across the board. What stood out to the two of you?
Man, what didn't, right? Like, I mean, first of all, obviously the outpouring of respect from Marshawn Kneeland was fantastic. I mean, like you said, they're going to do another thing now that they're playing at home this week, which it will be great. We saw, across the NFL, the teams were taking a moment of silence. The Cowboys had a little video prepared, and just they never stopped talking about Marshawn Kneeland and throughout the whole thing. And then after the game, carrying his jersey on and off the field, all that was really cool. All that was really special. And it's very clear that he meant a lot to them, and that this was important for the team to kind of honor him, which is really great to see. And then on the football side of things, I mean, which is, there's so much has happened. This has got to be the most eventful bye week, I feel like, that we've had to deal with, right? So obviously all the things that Marcus and I have been talking about on the show for the last 3 weeks, it had an effect. Like the amount of different people that you saw on the field actually had an effect, and it kind of had an effect in a way. In ways that we didn't expect. Obviously, Quinnen Williams gets on there, and we'll talk a ton about him and what he did and the major effect that his presence alone had. But beyond that, too, like you've got Kalen Carson out there playing 60 snaps. You've got, so basically you've kind of remade your defensive backfield outside of Bland as well, because you've got Ravel going out there for 20 plus snaps as well. No more Elam, no more Bridges, right? The linebacker core looked completely different because you've added 2 more bodies to that rotation, and they were probably the more heavily of the 6 guys that probably rotated in at the linebacker core. And I think on top of that, you saw better play from the defensive linemen that were around Quinnen Williams. Osa obviously played his best game. Like I think Kenny Clark probably played his best game since becoming a Cowboy. So the amount that was different is enormous. Like it just felt like the defensive coordinator felt more confident in what he was calling based on all the people, the personnel was out there. So, you make major changes in the personnel of the defense. It changes the personality of the defense. It also changes the confidence level that the coach has that what he's going to call will actually get executed. Again, it's all against the Raiders. We'll see. But I think first impressions so far of this new defense are pretty good.
Coach, I want to hear your thoughts. What did you think about this game on Monday night? Because I know you've been very critical of this defense this year. What did you think?
I mean, what I liked was that they didn't feel like they had to get in a 5-man line. I mean, you've got 2 big inside guys now that can eat up their interior three. So whenever they got in position to do that, that was, I mean, really, I thought for the first time, okay, it felt like Eberflus he was kind of dialed in with what he wanted to do. I thought on the back end, with the safeties being in there, they played the right leverage and they were able to bracket guys the way that you should when you're getting in a position to where you're dropping 6 or 7. And then I thought from a second level standpoint, you saw Murray overshown, at least get the depth that they needed to get. When you saw Murray ball to Bell, he got his hand on that ball. I just thought from a read and recognize standpoint, it was a lot better job by the defense. But I'm going to tell you, I was more impressed with what they did with their pass protections. I mean, pulling a guard and being able to take the guy that was uncovered and come help, knowing that you were going to get problems with Crosby. And then, we know what Javonte can do from a pass pro situation. So I just felt like schematically they had the off week. They took advantage of that time, and it felt like they were as complete a football team on both sides of the football from a scheme standpoint as I've seen them all year.
I want to talk about Tyler Guyton at the offensive line maybe a little bit later, but there was a point in this game, I think it was like in the middle part of the second quarter, and the defensive tackles were just dominating. I mean, they were just winning every single matchup. And in my brain, I was thinking about like my lifetime as a Cowboy fan and all of the bad defensive tackles I've tried to convince myself we're going to work out, whether it's like Ken Bishop or was it Michael Myers and Brandon Noble. I mean, I'm sure you could think of a bunch of names that the Cowboys have had in the last 20 years that we were just so desperately hoping we're going to be just average. And then the fact that you can put out like different units with Quinnen Williams, Kenny Clark, Oso Digizua, Solomon Thomas, who might have been your best defensive tackle all year, didn't even play, and you didn't need him. It was very strange. It was like an out of body experience, me watching good defensive tackle plays with the guys wearing a star on their helmet.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, just having a watching relationship with someone like Quinnen Williams and knowing what his game was like, and then seeing him in a Cowboys uniform was kind of surreal. It's almost like the inverse Micah Parsons, right? It's like, it was crazy. And again, like I think it shows you that how much a piece like Quinnen Williams affects a defense, right? Like the kind of cascading effect that it had in the ability to create one-on-ones. And then beyond that too, like one of the things you and I talked about in the show, Marcus, is, sort of the Logan Wilson type impact on this defense, right? It's not just about adding superstars. That's fantastic, obviously. And that's kind of the name of the game, but just adding more competent pieces to a rotating unit, like it just allowed you to limit the blast exposure of some of these folks that are going in there and making stupid mistakes. So it just gave you more options, and it gave you the opportunity to make sure that all these guys were going out there playing with their hair on fire and then having suitable backups to come in and relieve them.
Now, here's the other thing. How long did it take you to watch the football game to see a guy in Quinnen Williams who is well coached, has been well coached, understands head placement, hand placement, foot placement? I mean, you could tell he is a well coached, not taking anything away from him from his physical point.
No,
he is a very well coached defensive tackle.
Yeah, absolutely. And just being I think you've talked about this more than anyone, Coach, that just being fundamentally sound on defense, like being in your gap and knowing your assignment, having your head on having the right leverage on the body, like all those things, like just a very basic stuff. Seeing that kind of the floor being raised on that, I mean, that was enough to improve this team quite a bit. But then on top of that, you're seeing guys go out there and make plays. And that's even 2 steps away from where we were week 9, the last time we saw this defense play.
And I don't want to get ahead of our skis too much here, but like I was watching that game thinking, with the way that Quinnen Williams plays, where I mean he's a good athlete, but his game is based on power and hand technique. And you're getting this guy in the absolute prime of his career at age 27. It's like, are we just going to be able to enjoy this player for like the next 6 or 7 years and not really see a big drop off? I mean, Coach, we talk about all the time. I'm up here in Pennsylvania. Cam Hayward, he might be the best defensive tackle in the league, and he's like 36 years old, because you get these guys that are big and strong and don't get moved off the spot. They can play forever. It's not like an edge rusher. And I'm not trying to dunk on Michael Parsons, because that's not it. A lot of times these edge rushers, they get to be 29 and 30, and you start to see a little bit of a drop off.
Yeah,
I don't think that's coming for Quinnen Williams anytime soon. I mean, as long as he stays healthy, he should be a dominant player for this team to build around, not only in 2026, but well beyond that.
Well, also, the key is in the NFL, guys stay on their feet inside. Interior guys are looking to get the second level blocks. A lot of people, when you think of, well, that they don't have as good a feet as the tackle. They can't kick, and they can't. Hey, they got great feet and they got great balance inside, because you're not going to play in the NFL unless you can 6-inch step, power foot in the ground, get upfield, and then get to second level and not be a stumble bum. So I'm going to what you're saying, Marcus. You're exactly right. Normally those guys don't get on the ground very often. So you don't get a lot. And let me knock on some wood here. You don't get guys falling on guys' knees and doing those kind of things, because those interior linemen are so skilled at just getting up to the second level. And I think it's a great point about Cam Hayward. I mean, he's so physical, and that's what you want on those inside guys. I guarantee you, I bet if you looked at Cam Hayward's ankles, I mean, they're like 10-pound bowling balls. I mean, you know what I mean? I mean, and I feel the same way about these guys that have big feet, big ankles, big calves. I mean, and they're what I like is they're not long levered. The long levered guys are the guys that are outside. The guys that have big long levers. When you get those guys that are, I go back and it's, I'm probably dating myself too, but I mean we had a kid at Northern Illinois named Hollis Thomas. He was an unbelievable football player, but he was 5'10" nose guard, and he went straight to Philadelphia, played about 10 or 12 years, and he was a squared stance, just a brick. And I remember asking Larry Allen, Larry, who's the toughest guy to block? He said, without question, Hollis Thomas. And when you have those guys, it's very hard to move those guys off the football. And that's why they're such great run players. Yeah. And then when you combine it with power and a well-coached guy, that's why he was a first-round pick.
Real quick, if you look at like Pro Football Focus's grades, I know they're not the end-all, be-all, but of the top 15 defensive linemen, 5 are over the age of 33 right now. The top 2 are Cam Hayward, 37 years old, and Calais Campbell, 39 years old, right? And it's the point of like, the reason why Dallas made this trade isn't just for 2025 to try to get better on defense. And it's not just for 2026. They think this is a guy that can be an anchor on their defense for the next 5 or 6 years. And based on what we've seen, it was one game with Dallas in kind of the history of defensive tackles. It's pretty easy to see why Dallas made this trade.
I'll take it one step further too. It's also a schematic looking into the future too, because look what's happening with the NFL right now. There's more of a tendency towards having to be able to stop the run, especially as the season goes on. And then on top of that, what's the other kind of schematic change you've seen in the last 5 or 10 years on offenses? You're seeing more athletic quarterbacks who, if they don't see it on third down, they can pick up and run. What do you need to do to stop those guys? You need to collapse the pocket on them, not beat them around the edge, because if you beat them around the edge with these speed guys, they'll just squirt out the front of the pocket and get the first downs you want. Having more beef up front is how you're going to stop more modern offenses. So transitioning the kind of key player from being an outside edge rusher to an interior pass rusher, guy who can push the pocket, it makes some sense because it works more. I mean, look who you're playing this week, right? Like now, someone would ask a question earlier on Twitter, like how do the Cowboys spy someone like Hurts. They haven't done that in the past. And like we've been talking about, you don't necessarily have to do that with an edge rusher. You can do that with a linebacker when you've got the defensive tackles to collapse the pocket onto a guy like Hurts, make him throw from a compressed pocket or squirt out, and then have someone like Overshown tackle him before he gets anywhere. So I think it's not only a play for the long term because you've got a player in a defensive tackle prime, but you're also getting a player that schematically kind of fits what modern defenses need to do to stop modern offenses.
And I'm not taking anything away from T.J. Watt, but guess who T.J. Watt benefits from? That guy eating the double team up in there. T.J. Watt ought to be he ought to be tithing. He ought to be tithing.
Pass the plate,
I'm
coach.
all for Steelers. I'm all for Steelers slander. So keep going, coach. This is fine by me.
Go get in the bath with those two little crap birds of yours. Go in there and put some suds in the tub.
Coach is just mad because I made fun of Texans this week, saying they're not as tough as people from Pennsylvania. It's fine. You'll get over it. It'll be okay.
You gotta be shitting me.
Whoa, Marcus, buddy, what are you doing here?
That's all right. We're good. It's
Coach,
silly week,
I'm with
right?
you, buddy. With Texans till we die.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, I'll tell you, I when you think about it, when you take a step back, and certainly I don't want to dunk on Micah either, but when you kind of take a step back, you got Kenny Clark, Quentin Williams, Logan Wilson, and some pretty good picks. So all in all,
hey,
Cowboys did okay.
We still have to hold out until that trade is done, until we've got all the pieces. Then we can look back retroactively and decide how good that trade was. But, as it stands right now, at least it feels like they're making progress in getting back their money's worth from that trade.
I mean, and then here's the other thing, guys. I mean, everybody has kicked Jerry's rear end for a long time. I mean, right now, Pickens, Williams, Quinnen. I mean, you got to give him a little credit. And people hate doing it. I'm not giving him any credit. You shouldn't have got rid of Micah. Micah really got rid of himself laying down on that table.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say I just think we have to take.
I don't want to take a damn break, Jeff.
There's got to be some. There's got to be some separation between us and the Parsons thing before we're going to be able to view it with clear eyes.
Fair enough. All right, when we come back, one more defensive question, and then we'll kind of get back to some other things. But I want to run this by you. The Cowboys clearly no longer have the worst defense in the NFL. I think we can all agree on that. But the question now is, just how good can they be? We'll get into that when we come back. Marcus, Landon, the coach. This is the Cowboys Squad Show.
Today's show is brought to you by our friends over there at Peloton. Look, folks, it's time to break through the busiest time of the year with a brand new Peloton cross-training Tread Plus that's powered by Peloton IQ. It's Peloton's most elevated technology and equipment yet that gives you real-time guidance, and it gives you endless ways to move, whether you want to work out by yourself or if you want to work out with your favorite instructor, like my personal favorite, Alex Toussaint. He always gets me fired up to tackle the day. And the thing I like about Peloton, it helps me achieve more in less times. They have features that help you plan, stay motivated, track your progress, and Peloton IQ also provides personalized workout plans and recommendations. That's something that I use right now during the busiest time of the year covering the NFL. They plan my workouts for me based on my mood, my vibe, and also my favorite instructors. So make sure you check it out and use it because it also helps you correct your form in real time, and it maximizes your reps. It counts your reps so that you can do it smarter, safer, and more efficient. Let yourself run, lift, flex, push, and go. Explore the new Peloton cross-training Tread Plus at onepeloton.com.
There we go. We are back. The Cowboys Squad Show. Great to be with you on this Wednesday as we get ready.
Who's that guy that does that Peloton commercial?
That's Cody Rourke. He's from Locked On Broncos.
Yeah,
he may be locked on somebody. He's from Locked On Red Bull.
Yeah, he was fired up. It was good. Good read, though. He did a great job. So, as I said, I think we need a little depth here. So I just want to throw some names at you and just kind of get your thoughts, because we had a really good first segment, but we had the Q debut, Logan Wilson, DeMarvion Overshown, Siobhan Revell. I mean, just all kinds of storylines with the defense. And as I said,
real quick, can we talk? Because honestly, I think the guy that we should be talking about a little bit more that hasn't been thrown around as much, I feel like is Kalen Carson, right? Like I
Yeah.
talked about this on the show the other day. I mean, the guy went from playing, I think it was 15 to 17 snaps in week 9, having not basically played at all this season, and really not playing very much at the back half of last season, to playing 60 snaps on Monday night and playing pretty well. I thought that of all the guys that came in outside of Quinnen, obviously, that all the guys that were coming back or that were kind of newer faces on this defense, to me, what they asked Kalen Carson to do was the most difficult. And I think he excelled, because he was out there for 60 snaps, and consistency has been his issue. And I felt like he played very consistent football. It was, I think, the best game he's played. If you can find a way to get Kalen Carson going a little bit and start to mix in Ravel, add in his snaps a little bit more as he gets more comfortable, baby, you got a stew going.
Lynn, I'm going to ask you this question.
I think Bland is the guy that needs the credit. He's the guy that was going all over the field.
Great.
When you can leave a guy like Kalen Carson and just leave him at one place to say, hey, look, you're going to play. You can play the boundary corner. You're going to have that baseline to help you. That helps those kind of guys. So
absolutely,
what I like, you make a good point, but I think the key is the fact that Deron Bland was the guy doing the traveling.
100%. I think I was just pointing out.
You didn't say that. You only gave us half
I did
the damn
say that,
comment.
Coach. You got to hear me. I said, of all the new guys, he was the one I felt played. But you're 100% right. If we're talking about best players on that defense, I mean, Quinnen's obviously showing something, but Deron Bland showed you exactly, for all the people that were wondering about that contract because he had a bad week, he showed you exactly the kind of cornerback he can be when he has good talent around him. He's coming off of his man to make plays on other guys, to knock passes away. He's making solid tackles. He's covering, all pro tight ends. He's doing a great job. Yeah, I agree, Coach. Bland definitely deserves a lot of credit, despite the way that you delivered that message.
I know you make one little joke and he just gets all feisty. It's whatever. That's all right.
It's not a damn improv show. Get on here and give an opinion
That's right.
on football.
Lane,
I had a question. Talk to each other, Marcus. Okay.
That's right. I'm just gonna ignore Coach for a little bit. Lane, my question for you is: Trayvon Diggs is eligible to play not this week against Philadelphia, but on Thanksgiving against the Chiefs. Now it's 40 days. Actually, it's like 44 days since he suffered that concussion, and he had some mystery leg injury that Jerry Jones was talking about. If he's healthy, which it sounds like he is, are you putting him back in the lineup ahead of Kalen Carson?
I think he's got to earn his spot, right? Like, I think it's got to be about how they're practicing, but it doesn't sound like from people that we're hearing whispers from that they're going to just give him his job back. It sounds like he's going to have to earn the job back a little bit. So, and I think that's probably the best way to handle it, is that, even when he's been out there and everything's been healthy, he's been one of the biggest offenders on this defense. He's been one of the guys struggling the most to play appropriate leverage, appropriate technique. So yeah, I'm not just throwing, look, I think this coach has shown a propensity to play the guys that are best for the team, right? And I think that this is an ultimate test for that, right? So if it's me, I'm telling Schottenheimer, man, you make him earn that spot over Kalen Carson, because I saw Kalen Carson go out there, play solid football. He's the younger player. I feel like Kalen Carson's going to be the team beyond this year. So I think, I'm going to let him give him every opportunity to keep that job until Trayvon proves that he can take it away.
Yeah, fair enough. That's a good way to, I think, a good way also to kind of make it a win-win. You can kind of ease him in, and then, hey, if he stands out and he's excellent and back to where he was, great. But if not, you still have Carson, and it's best for the team. What are you guys
still also trying to get Revel up going too? That's the other part, right? You're trying to increase Revel snaps. So, it may be the situation where there's just not a ton of snaps available for guys that aren't listening to their coaches, I guess.
Unless you're putting Bland back into the slot full time, and then you're kind of rotating Diggs, Revel, and Carson as your 3 outside corners. I guess I could see that.
But I'm not doing that for Diggs. Like Diggs hasn't shown me anything to make me want to do that.
And that's the other thing is I have a feeling, I mean, he can't play this week against Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And maybe it's too quick of a turnaround to get him ready for the Chiefs game. Well, you've got 7 days after that to get ready for the Lions game. But depending on what the record is, let's say, they go 1-2 in that stretch, there might not be a point to putting Diggs back out there because the season will already be toast at that point. You might as well just play Carson and Revel, 2 guys that are guaranteed to be on this roster next year, and just develop those guys.
I also say that we still don't know exactly what is going on behind the scenes with Diggs and the Cowboys, right? Like it still feels like there's something there. So it could be the possibility that we've seen Diggs play his last snaps as a Dallas Cowboy already. I mean, maybe for the season, but maybe.
Well, and honestly, I wonder if there's a point where it's like, okay, let's not bring him back off the injured reserve list because we might want to use that spot, for somebody else. And we don't want him to get hurt and guarantee him money in 2026 when we know he's not going to be on this team.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Who do you believe is the best cover guy right now?
Bland.
Yeah, he balled out Monday.
So probably he's going to be the guy that's going to match up with Devontae. I mean, that's fair enough to say?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, so I guess what I'm pointing at is if Bland is playing at that high a level like we think he is, then, I mean, I'm completely agreeing with what you're saying. I want Carson out there. He's obviously smart. I mean, Wake Forest guy, sharp. I mean, he understands what the scheme is and what they're doing. I'm not going to, though, just push Diggs aside. I think you make a good point. What is wrong with what don't we know that is wrong with the relationship between Diggs and the training staff, between Diggs and Overstreet, between Diggs and Eberflus? I mean, I'm going back a little bit to what I said earlier. He's been coached. He is he's not fast. He wasn't fast coming out of college. I'm not before the knee issues. He was not.
No, he was never a speed guy.
Correct. But what he is, he's a long guy, and he's been coached, and he understands how to open his hips, and he understands how to press guys. And so I guess what I'm saying is when you have a guy that I believe is that well coached from Nick Saban and all the things that he's been through, I'm certainly not to just saying, hey, we don't want to see him anymore, because if the Cowboys do get to a 5-5-1 situation here, you want to press as many people into service as you can. While I'm not taking anything away from Ravel, nor am I wanting to take anything away from Carson. I've seen enough of Stewart. I mean, I don't need to see him a bunch more to know what he is. So now, how do you get your best players on the field lined up from a secondary standpoint? Because I think the other thing that we didn't talk about earlier was the play of these safeties. I mean, you can tell that with Hooker back and with
He's
Wilson
healthy.
back,
Healthy,
better looking. It's a better looking leveraged back end.
Yeah, 100%. I think for Hooker, it's just he's healthy, right? We've forgotten like how good it. I mean, look, for a team that spent years and years in the defensive tackle and the safety wilderness specifically for years, I begged for this team to get safeties and defensive tackle help, and we've just plumb forgot, right? Like we just forgot, and when Hooker got hurt, it contributed majorly to the collapse of this defense. It went from very, very, very bad to historically bad. And I think just having a confident voice back there who can get everybody lined up is just such an important thing for this for all defenses, right?
And
so
in a short week where you're going to be playing Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy and Kelsey, and I don't need to call roll, but I'm just saying you're going to have to carry a lot of what you're putting in this week is going to have to carry into Thursday.
Well, to answer your question too, Coach, like you're playing a very physical football team this week in the Eagles, right? And right now they have struggled throwing the football in traditional drop back situations, let's say, right? I think, if you're going to try, you're not going to try to work Diggs in this week. He's not eligible to come back this week, right? But I do like having this more physical lineup of corners out there that I feel more confident that are going to be solid tacklers and are going to be able to hold the edge a little bit. I think that's one thing that you talked about, the smarts of Kalen Carson. I think one of the other things about him is that he's tough, right? He's physical and he doesn't mind mixing it up. He'll throw his body around. Yeah. And I think that's something that I'm hoping that we're going to get as well from someone like Savon Ravel, right? Who, as we start to see him get more and more comfortable, he's a bigger body, he's long, but he's also got some sturdiness. He's not just scrawny, long and stretchy. So, we saw in the game, he was throwing his body around a little bit, and maybe that's what you do is when Diggs comes back, him and Savon Ravel kind of rotate that spot, and that's like the hook to keep Diggs, because ultimately, what I what I cannot get Diggs on the field anymore with is him not being physical enough to make tackles on the edge, to make tackles and bubble screens like that. Okay, you're going to gamble on a couple different passes. That's fine. I can take that because I know you'll probably pick one off at one point. I'm used to that. What I cannot live with anymore is a lack of physicality on the edge with our corners, because that just opens things up for the run game, for the screen game, and I'll live and die with the missed dive on an interception. But what I cannot abide by is a half-ass tackle on a wide receiver screen that breaks for 15 yards because you didn't make the effort that you needed to make the tackle.
I believe this too, though. When you're talking about guys who are coming off of knee and Achilles issues. Mm-hmm. It takes a while, and I'm saying like 3 to 4 weeks, even when you're in football shape, to really get it into your mind that you have the confidence to stick your foot in the ground and go change direction right now. Bop, bop, it has to be that way. And I think with Overshown, it's just going to take him a little time, and I feel the same way about Ravel. So I don't have a hard time understanding why he's on a pitch count. But when I watch Clowney is in football shape, and what's it taking him, 3 weeks, a month?
Mm-hmm. Took him a while.
He's in football shape now. You see him stick his foot in the ground and go chase Geno. That tells you he's got the confidence now that I can go run this guy down. And when you're coming off an injury, you got it just takes you a little time to work through the mental side of that.
Well, that's real quick, Marcus. I just want to say, I think that's why the Diggs and Ravel pairing as like rotation makes more sense, right? Because they're both guys that kind of need to work back into this. You can limit their exposure a little bit. Carson is a guy that obviously has been dealing with a bunch of different injuries, but he's done with that now. He's playing with the level of confidence, played 60 snaps like we mentioned. So let's go ahead and just keep him out there. We know we want Bland as that other guy. And then that other outside boundary corner, we can rotate Ravel and Diggs, and just to make sure that we're regulating those snaps as they kind of ease back into football shape.
And the truth might be, you're going to need all these guys. You're going to about to play 3 games in 11 days. It's not going to hurt anybody to have a rotation at corner.
100%.
Also, quick thought. What did you guys think of Overshown's return? And what about new addition Logan Wilson?
I thought Overshown was okay. He still needs some time to kind of ramp his body up. It's nice to see him out there. Logan Wilson, he's in the right spots at a lot of the right time. He can be a steadying force in the middle. He just can't really run anymore. So you're gonna have to watch that against some of these teams that want to sneak their quarterbacks out there. But I thought for the most part, I thought all the linebackers played much better this week than we've seen in previous weeks.
Yeah, I think I think with Overshown, he just looked. I think both Overshown and Ravel looked overexcited, nervous energy, right? A little bit. I think Overshown was overbiting on some of the play action stuff because he was just excited to get downhill and tackle somebody at times. And I think Ravel, just where am I going? Where am I going? You know, it's the combination of just being coming back from injury, not playing football for 400 plus days. And then on top of that, being a rookie in the NFL. So, yeah.
I saw a little coffee house stunt from Overshown on one of the third downs, which was kind of fun.
It was fun. And I think that you see it with him. I mean, he still has all the athleticism. I think it's about just kind of getting his feet moving a little bit more. And I expect a big bump in his play, you know, performance-wise, starting next week.
Yeah, as he starts to get confidence in that knee. I mean, I agree. I think as he starts to get and feel better about how his knee is playing in that brace. I mean, all those things, you saw him come off early. He was getting it retaped over there, and so you know, that to me, that tells you he's
Comfy.
Still not quite comfortable. Yeah. It still feels a little funky, whatever the scenario is.
Yeah.
All right. Well, when we come back, we've got to talk about the offense and what Dak was able to do, what the receivers were able to do. Was really good performance all the way around. Had some Hunter Lipke action. I mean, it was good stuff. Yeah, we'll get into that when we come back. This is the Cowboys Squad Show. But it is that time of the year, and the NBA is back, and there is no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making the late push. So right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com, sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Okay, we are back. Cowboy Squad Show. Marcus Mosher, Landon McCool, the coach, Glenn Stretch Smith. All right, so George Pickens put on a little show on Monday night. 9 catches, 144 yards, and a touchdown. It was the big stage for him, everybody watching, and we've been kind of talking about this before the season started, but now we're seeing him ball out. And, of course, with that said, comes all the speculation and all the clicks and all the thoughts and rumors. Okay, so what are they going to do? Pickens and CD. And my question is, and this is, I'm 100% serious here. Is there a way for the Cowboys to keep Pickens with all that they have going on?
Go ahead, Landon. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, yes, absolutely. They like, you know, the salary cap is real, but it's extremely fungible. And as Jerry has told us before, you know, I think a lot of the people that are kind of suggesting that the Cowboys are in trouble here or that they don't have the money to do this are just simply going to over the cap, looking at the number that is available for the Cowboys next year and not going any deeper than that and saying, buddy, the Cowboys are $35 million over the cap next year. There's just no way. The Cowboys have almost endless number of contract triggers that they can pull. They can manipulate the way they arrange these contracts so they can move the money around, push money around. There's lots of different mechanisms they can do. I mean, I think I saw somewhere, and Marcus may have the numbers off the top of his head, where you could pull, I think it's just 2 triggers between Dak and CD and cut, like basically wipe away all the money that you're over the cap and just those 2 moves, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, there is certainly a way to get this done. And kind of, you know, what we were talking about, I actually can't remember if this was pre-show or during the show, about Pickens' value is you know, there wasn't a ton of opportunity for other teams to go out and trade for him. This is a point that Marcus has brought up before on the show as well, that not a lot of teams were you know, chomping at the bit to trade for him. I tend to agree that I think that NFL teams change their opinions at a glacial speed. So I don't imagine that they're necessarily going to be completely moved by the performance they've seen from Pickens in 1 year. I have a hard time believing that he is going to command the kind of salary that I've seen people suggest out there, like $35 $5 million. Somebody was saying, I just don't. I mean, I think that's the going rate for top end wide receivers, and I think Pickens is performing like that right now. But we can't ignore, and I know teams won't ignore, all the history that's there and all the kind of gray area of in their reports on the guy. So I have a hard time believing that that's necessarily going to translate into a bunch of huge deals coming out this offseason.
And really quick on their cap situation, I don't want to get too much into the numbers, but they have $20 million, $20 million that they're going to roll over for next year. So if you go to over the cap, you see that they're $46 million over. They're really only $26 million over. They could restructure Dak and CD and save about $50 million combined with those two players. They can cut Terrence Steele, Donovan Wilson, and Logan Wilson and save an additional $30 million. They're going to have no problem at all. I think Kenny Clark's number is like a $26 million. They're going to restructure that or give him an extension. That's going to free up a bunch of money. And can they sign 2 receivers to big deals? Yeah, absolutely. The team that you're playing this weekend has 2 receivers on big contracts. The team that you're playing in 2 weeks, the Lions, have 2 receivers who are making over $30 million a year and a tight end who's getting paid and a running back who's going to get a bunch of money here soon. So, yeah, you can. And I think the Cowboys will. I think they're going to franchise tag him to start. I think they're going to probably work out a deal. Landon mentioned that there weren't very many teams that were interested in Pickens in the trade market. I was listening to some Steelers radio today here in Pittsburgh, and there was nobody. Pittsburgh was offering him to teams before the NFL draft. Nobody was offering anything close to what Dallas offered after the draft. We have to remember, going back to the 2022 draft, there were a lot of teams that took him off their draft board entirely. And I don't think anything he did in the first 3 years of his career are suddenly going to put him back on the radar, even though he's having a really good season with Dallas. Teams generally are just out on those players. There will be a market for Pickens in free agency, but it's just not going to be a robust market of like 15 teams banging the door down to give him $35 million a year. That's just not going to be the case. Having said all that, I fully expect Pickens to be back because I think he's going to want to be back.
Yeah.
I think that's the key. Is he likes it here. You can tell he likes it here. You can just see by guys, the optics, by guys' body move. I mean, everything he is, when he's finishing plays and he is going up for footballs, he knew he was out of bounds. He knew he was pressed into that boundary. You know what? He made the one-handed catch anyway, and then he gave the. He told the TV guy, hey, buddy, I'm that close. So I think there's something to be said for what guys and how guys react to the situation that they're in. And he's in a good place here where he's at. And I think he knows that. Now, here could be the flip side of this is the same agent that Micah had. And hopefully the guy's smart enough not to say, hey, why don't you go over there and lay on that table and see what happens just for shits and giggles?
Real quick, George Pickens needs to go out and get his money and take care of his family and do all that stuff. But I will say there are several examples of receivers chasing the money rather than the situation, and it end up costing them. I'll give you 2 from the Cowboys, right? Coach, I'm sure you remember a guy by the name of Alvin Harper, right? Do you remember him back in the 90s? Remember when he left Troy Aikman and Michael Irvin to went to Tampa Bay, and you basically never heard of him before or heard of him again until he came back to Dallas? Great example. Somebody who was living life as a wide receiver 2 with Michael Irvin leaves and has a forgettable career. Another example from 2011 was Laurent Robinson, who scored double-digit touchdowns with the Cowboys as the wide receiver 3. I think a lot of Cowboy fans wanted him to come back in that role. He goes to Jacksonville, and he's out of the league 2 years later. Pickens is better than both of those players, in my opinion. But it's a good example of why situation matters so much rather than getting an extra $1 million a year.
And to Coach's point, real quick, like, I mean, I think not only do we know what guys with good body language looks like, we know what Pickens looks like with bad body language, right? Like, and we've seen what happens when he isn't happy with the situation that he's in. So I think when you compare the two and how he's acting and how he's not reacting and how he's not acting, I think that's kind of showing you a little bit of how thrilled he is to be in.
I also think he just likes it here. He's got a guy that he can go out to the clubs, the casinos in Vegas with till the wee hours of the morning, and that helps having the monitor. You want to make sure that your teammates, you're with teammates, so you can help each other out in bad spots. So he has that here.
100%.
Yeah, maybe they should bench them both before every game.
No, it's a bad idea. Don't do that.
No, I don't think we should necessarily.
Just make sure you're back in the room. You're supposed to be back in the room.
There's that for sure. And maybe just treat the whole situation like a business trip as opposed to Vegas, baby. What happens in Vegas?
Stretch, have you ever stayed up until 7 o'clock in the morning before?
Yeah, in Las Vegas, lots of times.
On Monday.
How'd that turn out?
Yeah, I did it one time in Atlantic City when playing the Giants.
Do you remember?
I went to Atlantic City and stayed up about, I don't know what it was. The sun was coming up by the time I saw.
Did you have your shirt when you left, or did you have to leave it in Atlantic City?
Oh, I mean, I don't remember that. I wouldn't buck naked if that's what you're asking me.
Gross.
Quick question about Dak. After the first 2 drives, really settled in. It was nice to see him back in command of the offense, like you guys pointed out, just running the offense the way that it should be. Looked like he was kind of on his heels during the 2-game losing streak, but looked fully in command on Monday night. But he showed up today on the injury report with a hip injury. Hopefully that's nothing serious, just precautionary. But they're going to need him to be healthy and ready to go, especially Sunday.
I think he's going to be okay. I don't think we've got anything to worry about. Dak is not missing that game against Philadelphia. I think he'll be okay.
Absolutely not. No, I think it's just a little hip thing. I mean, he obviously played the rest of the game with it. Yeah. I do think we should take this opportunity to talk about the fact that I think the offensive line played one of their best games in that Monday Night Football game. And I think giving Marcus an opportunity, as he mentioned earlier, we should talk specifically about Tyler Guyton, because I think Guyton played his best game as a pro on Monday. And I think what you've seen from the guy is, it's not always pretty. It's not always perfect technique, but that's playing offensive line in the NFL. And he's learning how to win even when it doesn't look perfect. And I was just been really impressed with, obviously he's been a pretty solid run blocker this year, but the protection stuff, I think, was really where we started to see him grow a little bit.
First game of his career, he didn't allow pressure. I think the only thing that he really needs to work on is the flopping and acting ability, because that was pretty rough.
I thought it was perfect. I don't know what you're talking about. It was unnecessary, but it was.
Yeah, you need to work out a little bit. I mean, that's like acting that would be like in Sharknado 5. It needs to be better.
It's just got to react quicker, right? Because he got the hit and then took a beat. And then fell down. So just gotta maybe take some improv classes.
Yeah.
There you go. All right, let's take our final timeout. When we come back, let's dive into this Eagles rematch on Sunday. We'll do that coming up. This is the Cowboys Squad Show. The fastest break in sports. We love that. Welcome to the Cowboys Squad Show. All right, so we got round 2 with the Eagles coming up on Sunday. The Cowboys, a huge game. It's going to be another emotional game, as you guys pointed out. They're going to pay tribute and honor Marshawn Nealand, and I know they're going to want to keep that going when they take the field. We look back to that season opener, which seems like such a long time ago, opening night in Philadelphia, and I mean the Cowboys certainly gave themselves a chance to win. They just weren't able to finish the way that they wanted to. But as you brought up, the Eagles are not. They made those moves to help their defense, but their offense has been kind of misfiring all season long. And you have this thing going on with Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown, and they're trying to keep that going and trying to get their offense going. With all that said, though, I really do. I genuinely like the Cowboys' chances to just come in there Sunday, strike early, kind of put the Eagles on their heels and make them try to score. I'm looking forward to it, though. I think it's a good test.
I spoke with Louis DiBiase from Locked On Eagles, and that show comes out on Thursday, so make sure you guys look out for that. I asked him if this is the most miserable 8-2 team in the history of the NFL, and he said that it's possible. He said there's clearly some discontent there in Philadelphia. The weather is starting to get worse. The fans are getting grouchier. I get it. Like, as somebody who lives in Pennsylvania, I get it. When the weather starts to turn, it's kind of gross around here. But he said things have been boiling a little bit. It's not to the degree it was in 2023, but this is a team that just hasn't looked good on offense now in multiple weeks. And if you can get them behind in this game and force them to throw the ball and get back into a drop back game, we should mention their right tackle, Lane Johnson, is out in this game. He's on the injured reserve list.
Huge.
Massive loss. Their center, Cam Jurgens, I'm not expecting him to play either. So they could be without two important starters. This is a game that you can get past. If you can get a rush on Jalen Hurts, make him feel uncomfortable, you might have some success on that side of the ball.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely a game that I think even before, let's say, Sunday night, I think I wouldn't have known exactly how I would have felt about the Cowboys' chances in this. But I do think that because of some circumstance, these two teams have been pushed closer together. And I think, look, we know what it's going to be a heavyweight bout when the Cowboys have the ball, right? Like, the Cowboys offense hitting on all cylinders against probably what's the best defense in the NFL right now. I think that's going to be, prime time viewing. It's going to be fantastic. Both have known knowns, have superstars. Everyone's fully aware of what the other side does. Like, that's going to be really interesting football. But the other side of the football, I mean, the spectrum of outcomes that could arrive from that side is incredibly broad, right? Because you've got an offense that does have a lot of talent in the Eagles, but clearly has had a really hard time kind of cultivating and using that talent. They seemingly want to win a very specific way. Like, they've always wanted to kind of win a very specific way. And I think they've really struggled this year to get into those kind of game scripts. And I think that's why there's been lots of fits and starts with this team, is because they can't consistently move the ball down the field. They're not efficient. They're living and dying by chunk plays and that they used to be able to get in the run game. They're not getting them in the run game anymore, probably because of injuries, partially because Saquon Barkley maybe doesn't look quite as explosive as he did last year. And then on top of that, there's discontent between the quarterback, the wide receiver, the offensive coordinator, and the head coach, I guess, because of the way this offense, despite having two, as Marcus mentioned earlier, two high-paid wide receivers, they can't seem to throw the ball in the drop-back passing game in any kind of way. Meanwhile, on the other side of the ball, you've got the Cowboys who we didn't know what to expect coming in Monday night. We certainly got a lot better results than I think we would have expected. But at the same time, you played the Raiders, so you just don't really know how good this is. How does this scale? So you're going to get an opportunity to kind of see all of that again. And then I just think that this team, as they are currently constructed, both of them, the Cowboys match up better than they did probably even week one, right? Because you've got three defensive tackles who can collapse the pocket on Hurts. They're missing Lane Johnson. They're missing their starting center. So that disparity between your defensive line and their offensive line suddenly is basically evaporated. And you're facing an offense that is not very well coordinated, is disjointed, and that kind of eliminates some of the X's and O's, advantage that Eagles had over the Cowboys defense. So I don't know. Like, I feel like I know what's going to happen when the Cowboys have the ball, but when the Eagles have the ball, I have no idea of predicting, who's going to have more success, which the Eagles offense or the Cowboys defense.
I think with Lane Johnson out, it's really going to hurt the Eagles. I really do. I think when he is arguably the best tackle in the game, and you take him out, now you add the piece for the Cowboys inside, all of a sudden I think that creates havoc. And then I don't think there's been a good transition from Kellen to Patullo. I asked Marcus let me speak with his right-hand guy, Louis, today. And, that was a question I asked him was, hey, the transition doesn't look to be a very good transition from one play caller to another. And so I think you combine those things and it could be some problems. And then I'm going to say this. I really believe that coming home, playing back at AT&T, it will be twice as emotional as what you saw the team play with in Vegas. I think they'll go back into that locker room. They'll see where his locker is. There's a lot of things that they're going to be able to put their hands on and say, you know what, we're going to go out here. And I could see a very emotional football team coming out for the Cowboys Sunday afternoon.
Jeff, do you know the best part of this game is that the Eagles are wearing their Kelly green jerseys, the Cowboys are wearing their white jerseys. It's just going to be a glorious uniform matchup. I'm so excited for that part of it.
Yeah, I can't wait. It's going to be great. My gut is I think they're going to try to get Barkley going early to kind of take some of that pressure off of Hurts and what you guys were just talking about. I think they're going to try to get him going and try to see if they can find a spot to get him that he can go against the Cowboys defense and win. But with that said, I mean, that's their plan. But I think if the Cowboys can come out and just channel that emotion and that energy and get off to a good start, that they could really set the tone for the game early. I hope they do.
And I would expect this to be one of the louder crowds that they've had all season. It's again, I don't want to spoil the show for the crossover show with Louis, but I said, this is kind of the Cowboys season, right? If you lose this game and you're 4-6-1, the season's over. You're not winning the division. You're not getting back into the wild card race. You probably already have too many losses at that point. But if you win this game and you're 5-5-1 coming off a win in Philadelphia, you play a Chiefs team that's really, struggling right now. I don't want to say you're back in the playoff hunt, but you've at least stabilized things a little bit to keep yourself in contention once we get into December.
Yeah, I'll say this. Look, if we want to dip into fantasy land a little bit before we leave, just real quick. If the Cowboys win this game and then they go and beat Kansas City as well, look out. I don't know. I mean, I just feel like if it's like that and they're able to get over those two teams and then they go in and at least give Detroit a game or even win that game, I mean, they could suddenly be putting themselves into a spot where, this season could turn around. We've certainly seen that happen before. So,
well, it was 2 years ago. Philadelphia was 10-1 to start a season, and they didn't win the division. Again, it's Philadelphia's schedule is not the easiest. They'll still have games against the Bears, the Chargers, the Bills in Buffalo. You win this game, having some different conversations, which would be really fun.
You're certainly giving the Eagles more excuses to collapse for sure.
Yes.
Coach, what's the best way to handle 3 games in 11 or 12 days?
Well, you got to have carryover with your game plans. You got to put things in that you feel like, will work against multiple situations. It's tough offensively because Fangio is going to show you a lot of different looks, and the same way Spagnuolo is going to show you a lot of different looks. So it is tough to do right here, but I believe that when you start dealing with emotional football teams, I mean, I do. There's something that tells me this is going to be a very emotional football team Sunday, and if you can figure out a way to get to 500, then all of a sudden, winning becomes contagious. It really does. And I'm not in any way gonna predict it, Jeff. I know you're ready to go stand on your head and shake your ass and place a bet for whatever falls out on the Cowboys, but I'm not quite ready to do that just yet.
Fair enough.
Never mind. This is an age appropriate show that kids listen to. I was going to ask Coach about Big Dom, but please mute his mic before he does that. I don't.
What about him?
Oh, yeah. Good
Yeah, not
answer.
him.
Let's just leave him there.
Yeah, we're good. Sorry, Big Dom. We're not talking about you today.
I like to meet Big Dom. I might invite him.
We were so close, Marcus.
I'm going to invite him for a little barbecue down here in Fort Worth. Me and Big Dom.
I'd invite him to Thanksgiving, but I worry that I wouldn't have anything left to eat.
I want him to come. I want him to come down and eat some barbecue, drink one of these real Green Label Dr. Peppers. He'll belch like he never belched in his life. It'll be one of the best things ever happened.
Now it's rivalry week. It feels real now. It's great.
Yeah. Great way to end it. All right. Real quickly, Marcus, Landon, what do you guys got coming up the rest of the week heading into Sunday Showdown?
Yeah, crossover show with Louis DiBiase, a fantastic episode. Make sure you guys check that out. And then Landon and I will be back on Friday to get you ready for Eagles Cowboys Week 12. Make sure you guys check it out.
Big week.
One other thing real quick. The Cowboys cut loose Damone Clark. They activated Perion Winfrey from IR. Is that good? You guys okay with that?
Yeah, I want to see how many defensive tackles they can get on the field at one time. It should be a lot of fun.
Fit them all on there. It sucks that we lost Clark. It just didn't work out there. The instincts just didn't ever kind of turn over the way you wanted. But I'm excited to see what Winfrey did, just based or what he can do based on what I saw at training camp.
All right. Be sure and check out Marcus and Landon on the daily Locked On Cowboys podcast. And for the coach, we'll be back with you after the game, doing our post game on Sunday. Marcus and Landon will have theirs as well. It's going to be a great week 12, though. Can't wait for round 2, Cowboys and Eagles. Thank you for everybody for jumping in. And for those of you that are watching us later, this has been the Cowboys Squad Show.